here, so you know what that means. It's time to get crafty and creative. So when you think about getting crafty with pumpkins, you usually think jack-o'-lanterns, but it's too early for that. Instead, LA has a pumpkin centerpiece DIY that's all about decorating with what we're thankful for. Seems pretty perfect this time of year. Here's what you need to be a part of this project. You need a faux pumpkin, an inkjet printer, 8.5 by 11 standard printer paper, Mod Podge matte glue, scissors, foam brush, lacquer clear finish spray. And I'm already excited for this one. LA, let's get creative. How do we start?
I'm so excited to share this one with you. Well, Tracy, I absolutely love creating sentimental crafts, and especially something that can really become a nostalgic keepsake. So for Thanksgiving this year, I was really determined to come up with an idea that would show off some photos that actually have become a tradition for my family, actually a non-negotiable tradition, and that is our pumpkin patch photos. I don't know if you do them with your kids, but I've been doing them with mine since they were wee little babies, propping them up against pumpkins to get the perfect shot, and now they're getting a little older, and I can't say that they love when I drag them out to the pumpkin patch and make them smile. I don't make them wear the little pumpkin hats anymore, but they know how important it is to me. And I've told them, even when I'm a wrinkly old grandma, I'm gonna still drag them and hopefully grandchildren out and make them sit with the pumpkins for a photo. So I really wanted a way to display those photos because, quite frankly, I think you're a lot like me. I'm running out of frames. I have no more wall space to hang family photos in the house. And also the photos tend to live on my phone, on my camera, my iPad, and then even in the cloud. And we don't get to enjoy them as a family. So this project was all about being able to showcase the seasonal photos and make them part of my seasonal decor. And in fact, the goal with this project was to use as many photos as possible, all in one place for one craft project. The secret weapon to be able to do that was to use my Canon Pixma inkjet printer. Now, I recently picked this up for back to school, and it's been a workhorse for helping to print worksheets, assignments, all of the things that are now happening at the kitchen table, which also doubles as the classroom. But the real reason I love it so much is this baby also doubles as my sidekick for crafting. I love the fact that it works wirelessly, so I can print things like photos or printables right from my phone with one touch. I also love that it comes with refillable ink, and there's little windows right on the front here so I can monitor my ink levels at all times. And speaking of ink, would you believe that this printer will print over 7,000 color pages? Like, that's a lot of crafts to be able to print. Speaking of crafts, Creative Park is a great website that I've checked out where I found these amazing little printables that are free, my favorite four-letter F word, and I was able to turn little seasonal crafty printouts from this into, this. Check this out, Tracy. Little 3D pumpkins that also happen to open up so you can stash little treats. I think these would be great for a Thanksgiving Day table. But for this one, I mentioned it's all about photos. So I want to show you this, Tracy. Check this out. This is my pumpkin decoupage of the non-negotiable pumpkin patch photos. So I went through my phone and through all of my devices and found almost every picture that I could from over the years where I had the boys posed in the pumpkin patch. I printed them out, and this is why it's so fantastic that you're just using standard 8.5 by 11 paper, not expensive or customized photo paper, and then you just cut them up into small pieces to then create the decoupage. Now, before I show you how to make it, I want to talk about a couple things. Number one, I love this idea to show off any sentimental photos. I think that this would be so great as a centerpiece on your Thanksgiving table because it has that nostalgia quality, and the kids already, my boys were looking at this saying, oh, I remember that, and I remember going there. So it has that element to it, but I want to show you these little goodies. Check out my little wee pumpkins.
Aww.
So these ones, each of my boys made, and they made one of their own photos on them. Now, I put a tag on the big one that says thankful for, with all of them on there, because obviously very thankful for the family. But then I've added their names on the little tags. These, I think, would be stunning and so sophisticatedly sweet at place settings if you were to create one for every member of your family. So instead of a specific name card, they could all have their own little nostalgic pumpkin at their place setting. Fun, right?
That is such a beautiful idea. So much thought goes into that. Now, I understand there's another pumpkin there with some sentimental value for both of us that you wanted to show.
If you're thinking towards Halloween, that this project can also double not just for the Thanksgiving table, but for a sentimental pumpkin for all of the Halloween costumes. So this one I did with all of the boys' Halloween costumes over the years, including the very first Halloween with that pumpkin hat there. So this is a really fun way, again, to get the photos in a display form. But because we love to dress up, my family and I also share that love with you over the years. We have dressed up a lot over the years.
We have.
So I have started a Cityline Halloween pumpkin, and it has, let me just walk you down memory lane here. We have us as the Ghostbusters. We have us, you as Michael Jackson, and me as Liberace. You were Morticia Adams, and what else do we have here? Oh, probably my favorite, me as Uncle Fester.
That was the best.
I'm gonna show you how to make this. Because again, like, I just love this aspect that we can literally take a whirl down memory lane. So you're gonna start with your printed out photos. And one little tip that I want to share with you is, depending on the size of the pumpkin, really think about the size of your photos. If you're doing a really, really tiny pumpkin like this, you want smaller photos to fit on it so that there's not a lot of creasing of the images on there. If you recall, when I was a game hostess with the mostess on the show, let's use this one to do our little decoupage. So when you're decoupaging, I like using a Mod Podge glue and in a matte finish. And the most important thing after you've printed out your photo is to cover the pumpkin. You want to give it some area, not only to stick, but to give you some movement so that the photo can glide around on. You want to be very, 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 if I can stress that enough, generous with how much you put on. And although it may appear as though at some points you're making a big mess, it dries clear, which is key. So the other important thing is to over cover the area where the photo will go, and you place that just like so. Now I like using a separate foam brush just to work the photo into the creases of the pumpkin, because it has those natural creases there. And then you're gonna wanna go back in with the Mod Podge and cover right over top of the photo until you seal down every area. Now you'll inevitably have little creases that you can actually use your fingers. We're using a water-based glue, so don't be afraid to get your fingers in there to just seal down the photo. And again, the more liberal you are with the glue, you don't need to worry, because you're getting a really good seal, and then it will dry completely clear. So we've got that photo on. I also love, even with the bigger pumpkins, making sure that you do have a few smaller pictures on hand, because then you can actually fill in gaps around different areas as well as you're covering the whole pumpkin. So I love just that collage element of adding so many different photos on there. And then once this is dry, one final step, I actually did a clear coat of a high gloss lacquer over the pumpkins, and it gives it almost that high gloss photo quality crispness and brings out the color of the photos as well.
Such a good project, LA. I love it.
So simple.
So simple and so creative.